Alright, now let me tell you about this dragon. Last time I posted The Divine Illusion, the dragon sheds its skin and changes its bones. Many didn't believe it, asking, why does the dragon change bones? How can it fly? After dragons stop eating flesh and blood, what do they eat? Let's continue that story. So, let's talk about the dragon's story, starting there. Going back a bit further, let's talk about the Dragonfall incident in Yingkou, Liaoning. How many years ago did this happen? About 90 years ago, or more precisely over 80 years ago. It should be something that happened more than 80 years ago. At that time, the government of the Republic of China even published it in the newspapers, and the headline read, "Died of thirst in the suburbs." If you look at the picture, you'll see it's a very large one, but it hasn't fully taken shape yet. It's at the stage of transformation because it still has a complete dragon skeleton. As I mentioned, only after a dragon sheds its bones and the transformation is successful can it become a true being, able to soar through the 9 heavens. It can also appear and disappear, grow large or shrink small, gather together or disperse. In other words, it can become tiny just a little bit, or it can become extremely large. It can even pierce through the clouds, move through mist, ride the clouds, and bring rain. At this stage, it becomes a true dragon. Before reaching this stage, it is still in the process of transformation. Below that is the intermingling stage, and beneath that is the Great Serpent stage. The Great Serpent transforms into a Zhao. What is a Zhao? It must have grown a head and horns. It has grown a head and horns, but the 4 claws haven't appeared yet, and the dragon whiskers haven't come out either. The dragon's teeth haven't emerged yet, the dragon's teeth haven't come out. It's just that there are horns growing on its head. Let's talk about this first, about this Jiao type, which can die. In other words, this thing called Jiao really did exist back then. It truly happened. Moreover, it was a real dragon that tens of thousands of people saw. As for this Jiao dragon, it actually landed on the ground twice. The first time it fell, the local people even built a shelter for it, which attracted a lot of people. It stayed there for about 3 days after it fell. The local authorities even organized relevant departments and the public to pour water on it every day, because they were afraid its scales would dry out. On the second night, there was a sudden torrential downpour, and after the heavy rain, the dragon disappeared. It disappeared, and a few days later it was found again in the reeds by the river, but it was already dead. There were several rotten holes in its body. There had already been a few holes before, but by then those holes had become badly decayed. When it was discovered, the flesh had already decomposed a lot in just those few hot summer days. The description was very detailed. This is a true record, and it was included in the case files of many relevant departments with very thorough documentation, including specific photographs and even the bones that were left behind at the time. About half of the bones ended up among the local people. Some farmers even kept them in their own homes. Most of the bones were taken away by the Japanese at the time. They stole them. My brother went back to school to stay, and everyone was thinking about eating dragon meat noodles. But when they put the meat in the pot to cook, it all dissolved into water, completely melted away. There was no meat left, not like regular animal meat. It just turned into water with a layer of scum floating on top. That's how it was, and this is all true. Then they even invited a famous spiritual master at the time, someone from the Who family. You know, the ones who deal with foxes, weasels, snakes, rats, and so on. Very powerful. They came to perform a ritual and communicate with the spirit, but found that it had already been sealed off. So what does sealed off mean? It means this flood dragon was sealed, its mouth was sealed so it couldn't speak. Actually, when flood dragons reach this level, they can speak, or at least communicate with others through consciousness. But it was discovered that this one couldn't do it anymore. Its consciousness was very weak, and then its mouth was sealed, so it could only make a buzzing sound, and there was no way it could spit out human speech or appear human, because a flood dragon like this has already refined the transverse bone in its throat and the cranial bone on top, so it should be fully capable of producing human speech. But it couldn't speak, you see. It was already sealed, its mouth sealed from above. As for the specific reason, I won't go into that because I know the whole story, but it's too long to explain, so I'll just briefly describe what this dragon looked like. When it was discovered, standing in front of the dragon, well, the dragon was lying down, and if you stood in front of it, how tall was it? Lying there. Just the thickness of its head. The height was about 1.6 meters, and with its 2 legs. Who knows how big it really was, maybe around 2 meters. It had to have those 2 whiskers. Those whiskers were like a cow's tail, especially long and very thick. Its teeth were huge, and the dragon scales on its body were greyish-white. The fur was a strip of greyish-white, and at the time, there were several bloody holes, so everyone started pouring water on it. So what happened after they poured water on it? Within a few days, it died. Well, actually, by the next night, it disappeared during a heavy rainstorm. When everyone first saw this creature, they noticed it had a faint fragrance on its body. A light, pleasant scent. But later, as it started to decay, the smell became extremely fishy and strong. It was all around, not sure if it was within a 10-mile radius or 3 kilometers, but the stench was overwhelming. The villagers could barely breathe because it was so foul. That's how bad it got after it died. At that time, there were warlords fighting everywhere, so no one was dealing with it, just left it as it was. The relevant authorities didn't have time to deal with this thing. Later on, after Manchukuo was established and the Japanese took control, the Japanese took it away. But before they took it, many parts of this thing, some large scales, some ribs, bones, and other things, a leg was missing, one of its legs was gone. Actually, those legs were taken away by the villagers. So after the founding of the country, many of the original families who had those things at home gradually started handing them over to the relevant authorities. Now they are all kept in collections, and the details are all documented. Twisting bones, but it's only suitable for a small number of scattered individuals at various levels. Now, as I'm telling the story of Longfeng Valley, the story of Lunwan Valley, we have to go back again another few decades, more than 20 years later. At that time, there was the People's Commune, everyone ate at the commune, you all know about that, right? So, what was that? Everything was unified and managed by the commune, and it was the era of eating from the communal pot. So that's what happened. After telling that story, others started blasting the mountain. Why were they blasting the mountain? They planned to build a reservoir, because that place was surrounded by big mountains, and in the middle there was a big mound, which was also a small mountain, kind of like a very small hill, all made of earth. It was about 100 meters or so. If they blasted it, that spot could be used to store water, turning it into a natural dam. So, after discussing it at the time, there were no objections, and then the township organized the blasting. Several villages joined forces, provided manpower, and together they blasted the mountain. Your phone keeps ringing, let me turn it off first. They kept blasting the mountain. When they blasted it, an opening was created, and from that opening, a red liquid started gushing out, startling everyone present. No one knew what they had hit. People back then were superstitious, thinking they might have struck a mountain spirit, which scared everyone so much they didn't dare continue blasting. But in those days, who would dare go against it? Right? If you just say it out loud, the higher-ups were very firm, saying there's no such thing. The liquid only flowed for a short while, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and then it dried up. After it dried up, a huge number of ants started pouring out from the large crack that had opened up. These ants were about this big. Yeah, ants as big as your thumb, maybe even a bit longer than that. There were so many of them pouring out, no one could tell how many. They were desperately scrambling out through the crack, scaring everyone half to death. Who's ever seen ants that big? No one even knew if these pitch-black ants were poisonous or not. No one dared to go near. In the end, the authorities from Jingdong sent a lot of young soldiers, like red guards, to the scene. But when they arrived, they didn't see any ants at all, nothing. All the ants had disappeared, and no one could explain it. At this point, they started blaming the villagers, accusing them of being sneaky, saying, even in this day and age, you're still messing around with this kind of superstitious stuff. They criticized the villagers for a while, and then kept pressing them to investigate the matter further. Alright, let me keep going. It's getting a bit dark, so I'll light the kerosene lamp. Let's continue with our story.